Stop chasing people who don't even see you. Stop begging for validation from those who don't value you. Because the more you chase, the more they run. I know you've been there. You give everything, your love, your energy, your heart, yet they barely notice. And deep down, it breaks you. But here's the truth. You were never meant to beg for attention. You were meant to command it, not by pleasing people, not by proving your worth, but by becoming someone they can't ignore. Listen carefully. You don't get respect by asking for it. You earn it by working on yourself so relentlessly that your presence speaks louder than your words. The people who used to overlook you, one day, they'll wonder how they ever missed your light. Because here's the secret. The loudest person in the room isn't the most powerful. The quietly confident one is. The one who doesn't scream for attention. Because their value screams for them. You've been living your life trying to be enough for everyone else. Trying to fit into boxes you never chose. Smiling when you're hurting inside. Agreeing when your heart screams. No. Changing yourself so people will like you. And yet, it's never enough, is it? Because no matter how hard you try, someone will always want you to be more, or less, or different than who you are. So you keep bending. You keep shrinking. You keep sacrificing pieces of yourself, hoping they'll finally see your worth. But here's the hard truth. The more you chase their approval, the further you get from yourself. When you live for their acceptance, you die by their rejection. Every time you seek validation from someone else, you hand them power over your emotions. You allow them to decide if you're worthy, if you're enough, if you matter. But you were never meant to give that power away. Because your value doesn't come from what people think about you. It comes from who you are when no one's watching. It comes from the moments when you choose yourself, even when everyone else walks away. Stop apologizing for being you. Stop explaining yourself just to be understood. Stop twisting your soul to fit into places you were never meant to belong. The truth is, people's opinions of you will always change. One day, they'll admire you. The next, they'll doubt you. And if you spend your life chasing their approval, you'll never find peace. Self-respect isn't built by pleasing others. It's built by setting boundaries that protect your energy. It's built by saying no when you want to say no and meaning it without guilt. It's built by walking away from anyone who treats you like you're replaceable. Understand this. Respect isn't something you ask for. It's something you become. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, people either rise to meet you or fall away on their own. And that's not rejection, that's alignment. The moment you stop begging to be seen, you begin to shine. The moment you stop asking for love, you start radiating it from within. And the moment you stop chasing approval, you finally become free. There's a power in silence that most people will never understand. Because we live in a world where everyone is shouting for attention, shouting for validation, shouting just to be heard. And yet, in that constant noise, the loudest voice is often the one that says nothing at all. You don't have to beg for someone to see your worth. You don't have to scream to prove you belong. Because the truth is simple. When you know who you are, you no longer need to explain it. Silence isn't weakness. It's control. It's strength disguised as calm. It's the ability to stand in the storm without letting it consume you. When people disrespect you, your silence speaks louder than any argument ever could. When someone doubts you, your silence becomes a mirror that reflects their insecurity back to them. When someone underestimates you, you don't fight to prove them wrong. You work in silence and let your results scream for you. Because silence carries a weight that words never can. Begging is easy. Anyone can beg. Anyone can plead for attention, for love, for validation. But begging always comes with a cost. The moment you lower yourself to chase what's running from you, you hand over your power. You teach people how little you believe in yourself. And the more you chase, the further they pull away. Silence, on the other hand, creates mystery. It creates curiosity. It makes people question what you're thinking, what you're planning, what you're capable of. Because silence forces them to notice what your words no longer need to explain. Sometimes silence is the greatest revenge. Not because you're weak, but because you've outgrown the need to engage. You don't need to scream. You don't need to beg. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. Your silence shows that you value your peace more than you value their approval. And that terrifies people who thrive on control. They expect you to argue. They expect you to defend yourself. They expect you to fight for their attention. But when you choose silence, you take away their power. Silence isn't about doing nothing. It's about doing more where it matters. It's about building yourself quietly, working in the shadows, and letting your success become the loudest noise in the room. Because when you focus on growth instead of validation, the world starts paying attention. Not because you begged for it, but because you became undeniable. There's a simple truth about life that most people never understand. If you spend your energy chasing attention, you'll always be behind. But if you spend your energy building yourself, attention will chase you. Because the world doesn't notice those who want to be seen. It notices those who make themselves undeniable. You don't earn respect by asking for it. You earn it by becoming someone who can't be ignored. Not by shouting louder than everyone else. Not by proving your worth to people who doubt you, but by working on yourself so relentlessly that your growth speaks louder than your words ever could. Stop comparing yourself to people who are ahead of you. Stop obsessing over who's watching and who's not. Stop begging for validation from those who don't even respect themselves. Your energy is too valuable to waste on being noticed. Use it to become better. Use it to create a version of yourself so strong, so disciplined, so rarer, that people have no choice but to pay attention. Every second you spend chasing people, you could be chasing your goals. Every moment you waste trying to be liked, you could be building the life that will make people respect you without a word. Because here's the thing, attention doesn't come from asking for it. It comes from earning it. When you work in silence, when you grind when nobody's watching, when you invest in your growth, your skills, your strength, You build something they can't take away: self-respect. And self-respect is magnetic. People are drawn to those who don't need to be noticed. They admire those who rise without asking for permission. They follow those who lead themselves first. Be so focused on improving your life that you don't even have time to notice who's paying attention. Be so consumed by your goals that their opinions become irrelevant. Because the moment you stop chasing attention and start chasing mastery, everything changes. You move differently. You speak differently. You carry yourself with a quiet confidence that doesn't need to be announced. And people feel it. They sense the shift. They notice the discipline in your habits, the strength in your presence, the clarity in your purpose. The irony is this: the less you chase attention, the more attention you get. Not because you asked for it, not because you begged for it, but because you became someone worth noticing. Work on your mind until your thoughts are sharp. Work on your body until your energy radiates strength. Work on your craft until your skills speak louder than any introduction. Work on your soul until your peace becomes untouchable. Because when you build yourself from the inside out, you don't need to demand recognition. You become the recognition. Your growth becomes your voice. Your discipline becomes your reputation. Your success becomes your statement. When you work so hard on yourself that attention becomes a byproduct, you no longer need to seek validation. Validation seeks you. You've spent too much of your life trying to prove yourself to people who never really cared. You've bent over backward to meet expectations that were never yours to begin with. You've smiled when you were breaking inside. You've stayed quiet when you should have spoken up. And deep down, you've carried this silent hope that one day they would finally see your worth. But here's the harsh truth: some people will never see it. No matter how much you give, no matter how hard you try, no matter how deeply you care. For some people, it will never be enough. And that's exactly why you need to stop living for them and start living for you. Validation feels good, doesn't it? That nod of approval, that little acknowledgement, that sense of belonging when someone notices you. But here's the problem. When you build your identity around other people's opinions, you're giving away your power. You become addicted to their approval and terrified of their rejection. You start shaping your choices, your dreams, your life to match what they expect of you. And every time you do that, you shrink a little. You abandon yourself a little. You trade authenticity for acceptance. But what's the point of being liked by everyone if you can't even recognize the person you've become? The truth is simple. Your growth should never depend on their validation. Growth is personal. It's messy. It's uncomfortable. It's lonely at times, but it's yours. It's in the early mornings when no one's watching. It's in the sacrifices you make when everyone else is asleep. It's in the moments when you choose discipline over comfort and nobody claps for you. That's where real transformation begins. Not in the spotlight, not in the applause, but in silence. Because growth isn't about showing the world you're changing. It's about becoming someone you're proud of when nobody else is around. Stop chasing their approval and start chasing your potential. Because the truth is, you don't need anyone's permission to become the best version of yourself. Work on your craft until it speaks for itself. Work on your mind until your confidence no longer depends on compliments. Work on your body until your energy commands attention without a word. Work on your soul until your peace can't be disturbed. When you focus on growth, you stop competing with people. You stop explaining yourself. You stop begging for recognition. You realize that your journey is yours alone. And what they think about it has nothing to do with where you're headed. You'll notice something powerful when you shift your focus inward. The more you grow, the less you care about who's watching. The more you invest in yourself, the less you need anyone to validate you. And ironically, that's when people start noticing you the most, because energy is magnetic, confidence is contagious, and self-respect, it speaks louder than any words ever could. When you stop chasing them, they start wondering why. When you stop seeking approval, you create an aura they can't ignore. And when you stop living for their validation, you finally start living for yourself. Growth is the quiet work behind the scenes. It's the late nights, the early mornings, the moments when quitting feels easier, but you refuse to stop. It's choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term applause. And the truth is, real growth doesn't need to be announced. It reveals itself through your actions, your mindset, your discipline, and your results. Because while they're busy watching, you're busy building. While they're busy judging, you're busy improving. While they're busy talking, you're busy becoming. There comes a moment in life when you get tired of explaining yourself, tired of proving your value, tired of lowering your standards just to be accepted, tired of begging for the love, respect, and recognition that should have been freely given. You've been there, haven't you? Giving your best, showing up for people who barely notice, loving people who take you for granted, and silently hoping, just hoping, that one day they'll finally see your worth. But here's the painful truth. Some people will never see it. Not because you're not enough, but because they've already decided not to value you. And the more you beg for their attention, the more power you give them over your life. Knowing your worth changes everything. It changes how you walk into a room. It changes how you let people treat you. It changes the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, the way you choose the people around you. Because when you truly understand your value, you stop negotiating it. You stop chasing people who make you feel small. You stop explaining why you deserve a seat at the table, and start building your own. Begging is exhausting. Begging drains your energy, destroys your confidence, and teaches people that you're willing to accept less than you deserve. Every time you beg, you send a silent message. My value depends on your validation. And the moment you do that, you give them control. But when you know your worth, you take that power back. Knowing your worth doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you free. It frees you from the endless cycle of seeking approval from people who were never meant to define you. It frees you from toxic relationships that drain your spirit. It frees you from settling for less when you know you were meant for more. You stop begging for attention because you understand that real connection is never forced. You stop begging for love because you realize love given out of pity isn't love at all. You stop begging to be chosen because you finally choose yourself. The world treats you the way you teach it to. If you keep showing people that you'll accept crumbs, they'll never offer you the feast. If you keep proving your worth to people who refuse to see it, you'll never stop running in circles. But the moment you draw the line, the moment you decide enough, everything begins to shift. You start setting boundaries, not because you're cold, but because you've finally learned how to protect your energy. You start walking away from people who treat you like an option because you finally realize you are not one. The truth is, you don't lose people when you know your worth. You lose the wrong ones. You lose the ones who never truly valued you. You lose the ones who only stayed because you kept shrinking yourself to make them comfortable. And yes, it hurts. It hurts to let go. It hurts to stand alone. But standing alone with dignity is always better than standing with people who make you beg for what you deserve. When you know your worth, you stop trying to convince anyone of it. You let your actions speak. You let your growth speak. You let your peace speak. Because self-respect is silent. It doesn't argue. It doesn't chase. It doesn't explain. It simply walks away from anything and anyone that refuses to match its value. Knowing your worth also means knowing where to direct your energy. Instead of pouring your time into people who don't appreciate you, you invest it into yourself. You build your skills. You sharpen your mind. You strengthen your body. You heal your heart. Because when you choose growth over begging, you start attracting better opportunities, better people, better relationships, better outcomes. The universe doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to alignment. And the moment you know your worth, you naturally align yourself with the life you were meant to have. Begging closes doors. Self-respect opens them. Begging chases what's running away. Self-respect attracts what's meant to stay. Begging lowers your standards. Self-respect raises them. So stop asking for permission to be valued. Stop explaining yourself to people who were never willing to understand you. Stop breaking yourself into pieces to make others feel whole. Because when you know your worth, you become unshackable. You no longer need validation to feel significant. You no longer need approval to feel confident. You no longer need acceptance to feel complete.